Okay, now let's do Cinderella and Magic Books, chapter 3 of my stories, my Doctor Who fairy tales. It's pretty cool. Despite being one of the prettiest girls in the kingdom, Cinderella was also one of the unluckiest. When she was very young, her mother had caught a fever and died. Her father grieved for several years, but eventually fell in love again. His new wife was a widow who had 2 daughters, a little older than Cinderella. They all lived together happily, or so Cinderella thought, in the grand house where Cinderella had grown up. However, when her father took ill and died, not long after marrying his new wife, things swiftly changed. Cinderella's stepmother inherited the house and all of her husband's wealth, and it soon became clear that the woman and her daughters had only wanted Cinderella's father's money and possessions. Sounds like the normal Cinderella so far. There was certainly no love in their hearts for Cinderella, and she suspected that there had never been any love in their hearts for her father either. They did not know Cinderella out of her own. They did not throw Cinderella out of her own home, although perhaps it might have been kinder if they had. Instead, they made her cook and wash for them. She cleaned and polished and did the shopping in the town, prepared the meals, and tidied and did all the housework. Cinderella's stepmother and stepsisters made her do everything for them. But there always remained one thing they could not make her do, and that was to be unhappy. No matter how hard she had to work or how cruelly she was treated, Cinderella was always smiling. So far this sounds like the normal Cinderella story.
I was about to say, why are you reading Cinderella?
I'm not. I'm reading Cinderella in the Magic Box.
I'm reading Cinderella.
Sounds like that now. It will change soon, I hope.
Right,
yes, she knew she had been unlucky. She had lost both her parents at a very young age and was now treated little better than a slave. But Cinderella was grateful to have a roof over her head and enough to eat. She knew there were many in her world who were still less fortunate than she was. Nonetheless, there were also many who were more fortunate. From the kitchen window, Cinderella could see the castle where the lords and ladies lived, perched on the hill behind the town. Taking a moment's break from the filthy dishes she was made to scrub morning and night, she would often gaze through the window and wonder what it was like inside the castle. Occasionally she did catch a glimpse of Lord Drake's carriage passing through the town on its way to or from the castle. The blinds were always drawn, and Lord Drake himself was rarely seen. Years passed, and Cinderella grew into a young woman. Beneath the grime and dirt and soot and dust that always coated her face, she was more beautiful than either of her rather plain stepsisters.
You said sweet.
I said suit. I meant to say suit. S-O-O-T. Suit. Soot. Thank you. They hated and resented her all the more for it. Once every year, the most handsome men and beautiful women in the town were invited to a ball at the castle. If her father had still been alive, Cinderella would like to think she herself might have been invited. She might even have been one of the few who were chosen to stay in the castle and live out their days in luxury. Although she would not have wanted to leave her parents if they had still been alive, now she would happily exchange her life at home for one in Lord Drake's household. At last one day, the invitation to the masked ball at Lord Drake's castle was delivered. Cinderella's jealous stepsisters did their best to keep it a secret from her. They did not want her to go because they knew that her beauty would certainly outshine them both. It wasn't long, though, before Cinderella learned of the ball. It was the only thing people in the market were talking about when she went to buy the meat and vegetables. "Surely you'll be going," Bunton, the butcher's lad, said to her. "All the young men and women are invited, as well as the most important people in the town." "Everyone except me," Cinderella told him. She felt the little happiness and hope she had inside her ebbing away. The ball was to celebrate the visit of the Prince of Abesk? Abesk?
A-R-B-E-S-K.
E-S-K.
Abesk, yeah. I don't
Abesk.
know. That's a new one for me.
The province of Abesk
Oh, well, that's why it's a new one for me. Alright, come on.
had been a rival to Lord Drake's realm for as long as anyone could recall. Bunton told Cinderella that the prince's visit was supposed to be a gesture of goodwill and peace between the two provinces, but Cinderella could tell from Barton's expression that he was not convinced. "I've met Lord Drake," he told her, "when I delivered the meat to the castle. He is sometimes there. I've only ever seen him in the evening. They say he does not venture out in daylight. I have noticed how he treats the servants. There's something in his eyes." Bunton shuddered at the memory. "I don't know what it is, but it frightens me. They say he eats his meat raw, the blood still dripping from it. Ew." When she returned from the market, Cinderella asked her stepmother about the ball. The cruel woman just laughed. "It is not for the likes of you," she said. "I thought all the young people were invited," Cinderella said. "It is only for important people," her stepmother replied, drawing herself up to her full height. "People like me and my daughters." "You are going?" Cinderella was not surprised. As well as his wealth, his stepmother also inherited her father's position in society. Give me a sec, I need to itch my eyebrow. Okay, much better. Position in society. "I am," her stepmother replied proudly. "It is a great honor. Lord Drake has finally realized how much my family and I contribute to the community. You," she added with a cruel smile, "are not my family. You will stay here and clean the entire house from top to bottom. You will polish the silver and sweep out the backyard. On the day of the ball, Cinderella's stepmother presented her with a list of the work she must complete by the time they returned from the ball. Before she started, though, Cinderella had to help her stepsisters get ready. She fitted them into their lavish dresses, all the while wishing she had a dress just half as fine for herself. She braided and arranged their hair, wishing she had the time and a good reason to do her own. Finally, she watched them climb along with their mother, into the carriage which bore her father's coat of arms on the door. The driver smiled sympathetically at Cinderella. He had known her since she was a child and had worked for her father. Then he twisted the reins and the carriage drove off to Lord Drake's castle. As it disappeared into the gathering night, Cinderella heard the castle clock chime 8. Back inside the house, Cinderella was just starting to mop the kitchen floor when she felt a draught on the back of her neck. It ruffled her hair and made her shiver. Now we get to meet the TARDIS. That's how I imagine meeting the TARDIS. Thinking she must have left a window open, she started to cross the room to check, but was interrupted by a strange noise which split the air. A wheezing, grinding, scraping sound. Goes the TARDIS. That's my best impression. Cinderella watched in amazement as a blue box manifested in the corner of the kitchen. She stared at it in disbelief for several moments before the front door opened and a man stepped out. The man smiled at Cinderella. He flicked a wayward lock of hair from his eye, but it flopped straight back where it had been. This time he ignored it. "Who are you?" Cinderella asked. She wondered who would travel in such a strange, exciting manner, and a thought occurred to her. "You're not the Prince of Abesk, are you?" The man's smile expanded to a grin. "The Prince of Abesk will be up at the castle enjoying the masked ball by now," he said, "which is exactly where you should be." Cinderella shook her head sadly. "I'm not invited." "Of course you're invited. In fact, you're the most important guest of all," the man told her. Cinderella laughed at this. "Me? I don't even have a dress to wear. They'd never let me in like this." She gestured to her tattered dress and smudged apron. One of her worn-down shoes had a hole in the end of it, from which a lonely toe poked out. Itchy. She certainly was a sorry sight. The strange man raised his eyebrows. He walked over to her and took the mop she was holding and threw it across the room. "You do need a bit of work," he agreed. "Come on then." "Come on where?" Cinderella asked. "Into my magic box," the man told her. "You can have a quick bath, and I'll find some clothes for you to choose from." Cinderella was a little nervous, but she thought the man, though a bit strange, seemed trustworthy. Plus, she'd much rather go to the ball than be stuck here scrubbing the kitchen floor. So she followed him through the door into his blue box. She had expected it to be no bigger than a cupboard, which was how big it appeared from the outside. But once inside, it opened out into a whole mansion, larger than her own house. It was perhaps even larger than Lord Drake's castle. The man led her through a large chamber with a strange table in the middle of it, down corridors and walkways, until eventually he ushered her through a door and into the most magnificent bathroom she had ever seen. "Just ring when you're done," he said, and showed Cinderella a bell hanging across the enormous bath. The left tap is cold water and the right tap is hot water. The middle one is lemonade. "How interesting," he told her. You probably won't need the lemonade, but if you want bubbles, there's a switch just there. I've put a time lock on it, so take as long as you like. It's still 8:30. It'd still be 8:30 when you're finished. The man left, and Cinderella had the most luxurious bath of her life. She took her time and then dried herself on the softest towel she had ever used.
Much more stuff under there.
Finally, she put a loose bathrobe and tugged the bell pull. Brilliant, said the man when he appeared moments later. Next stop, the wardrobe. Cinderella had never seen so many clothes.
that was quite well done, Lydia.
What, you've never seen quite that many clothes come out from under Heidi's bed? I've seen twice that much.
Yeah, no. It was just amusing that, as you said, that she's walking over there with a armful of clothes. Amusing.
There were whole rooms full of them, Heidi. The man had already picked out several dresses that he thought she might like. He also showed her a whole rack of other dresses she could try, and then he left it to her. It took a while, but Cinderella finally found the perfect blue, billowing dress. When the man returned, he nodded and straightened his rather floppy bow tie. I know which doctor it is. Mom, I know which doctor it is. Bow tie.
Matt Smith.
Yes. Him and David Tennant are my favourites. My favourite little doctors, aren't they? I thought it was Matt Smith who had the bit of floppy hair over his eye as well. Aha! I know my doctors.
The others, which are in there.
Yeah.
So this can go in the bin?
Yeah.
I know just the right shoes to go with it, he told her. The shoes he offered were made of crystal. The toes were Faceted. Eted. Faceted.
That's when, like, diamonds are faceted.
Well, the shoes are made out of diamond, crystal. Like how it's cut. Okay.
Yeah, it's faceted. Yeah, that's it.
So that they caught the light
I'm glad you picked up on what I was trying to...
and shone like cut diamonds.
Oh. There you go. Right, so...
Are they made of glass? Cinderella wondered aloud. The shoes made of glass? That wouldn't be very safe, said the man. They're actually midnight crystal, much tougher than glass, and thanks to a clear polymer lining that adapts to the shape of your foot.
Me and Dad wanted to do it last year, and he said he wouldn't.
A lot softer too.
He had a cup of beer. A bottle of beer. We would do it. But then he said, "Oh, sorry, Monkey, I already put it in the bin." So we never got to do it.
Why does it need to be with beer?
Glass shoes would just be silly.
Hot water. Bowl with hot water. Bottle with small...
Cinderella put the shoes on. She was surprised at how comfortable they were and how well they fitted. There's just one other thing you need, the man told her. He produced what looked like a metal wand. Doctor. What's that? Cinderella asked. Sonic screwdriver. Yes! My favourite contraption. The sonic screwdriver, he told her.
Sitting in there that aren't hung up, aren't there?
And why do I need that? She said. You need it, the man said, so that at exactly midnight, when the castle clock chimes the first note of the hour, you can do this. He showed her how to press the button, make the end of the wand glow. Can you do that? Cinderella nodded. It seemed easy enough, but why? The man looked surprised. Didn't I explain? It's to save your life. Right then, time we were going. Doctor, you aren't making much sense. As she followed the man back along the corridors and walkways, Cinderella wondered how she was going to get to the castle in her long dress, wearing shoes that were made of something that wasn't glass. But when they stepped out of his blue box, she found they were already there. The box was now somehow standing right next to the side door of the castle. Good luck, the man said. He shook Cinderella's hand. Remember, exactly midnight. No sooner, and certainly no later. Then come back here, and I'll give you a lift home. But aren't you coming to the ball as well? She asked. The man shook his head. They'd spot me at once. Probably smell the Artron energy as soon as I stepped inside the castle. That's why I need you to use the sonic screwdriver. The man told Cinderella how to find her way from the side door through to the main ballroom. Have fun, he told her. Don't forget, midnight on the dot, or you'll need this too. He handed her an ornament mask with a short stick, which Cinderella could hold in front of her face. It's a masked ball, after all. Here's the picture. I don't think I want to know what those are. Yeah, that's definitely Nat Smith. Okay. Cinderella was afraid that someone would stop her and demand to know what she was doing there. What if her stepmother saw her? She held the mask close to her face and hurried through the castle. Cinderella heard the sound of music and laughter long before she saw the flickering candle light. The ballroom, when she eventually reached it, was full of people drinking wine and talking. In the middle of the room, people danced while a small orchestra played music. At the far end, beyond the dance floor, was a raised platform. Here, looked down upon their guests, sat Lord and Lady Drake. They did not wear masks, although the other people seated on the platform did. Lord Drake...
You've got about a minute to go.
Lord Drake was tall, with thin, lean features and black hair swept back from his forehead. Lady Drake's hair was just as black, but hung straight and elegant to below her shoulders. There was something cold, Cinderella thought, about their eyes. Although she did her best to stay inconspicuous, as she enjoyed the music and sipped a glass of wine, Cinderella grew increasingly aware that people were staring at her. Despite their masks, she could tell who most of them were. She tried not to meet their eyes, hoping no one would recognize her, but it was a man that she was sure she had never seen before who came and spoke to her. He dressed in an elegant suit and wore a plain white mask with a pattern of gold swirls across it. He stood next to her as she watched the dancers and said, "Forgive me, but you seem rather ill at ease." He seemed pleasant, and since Cinderella was sure she did not know him, She confessed that she was confused as to why people kept staring at her. The man seemed both surprised and amused by this. "You really don't know?" he asked. Cinderella shook her head. The man gently took her hand and said, "Dance with me, and then I shall tell you." It was years since Cinderella had danced. When her father was alive, he made sure that she had dancing lessons every week. Now she was amazed how quickly she remembered what to do. When the music paused and the dance was over, the man led Cinderella to the side of the dance floor. "You seem happier now," he said. And indeed she was. Her nervousness was gone, and she had even stopped noticing the way the other guests were watching her. She realized how much she enjoyed dancing with the masked stranger. The evening wore on, and the Lord and Lady Drake and others on the platform descended to join the dancers on the floor. Cinderella danced again with the man she had met. She wondered who he could be. He had not told her his name, and she felt it would be rude to ask. In the end, her answer came from the most unlikely of places. A new dance began. The stranger took Cinderella's hand to lead her back to the dance floor, but before they could start dancing, another figure stepped in front of them. It was Lord Drake. "You really cannot keep our most beautiful guest all for yourself," said Lord Drake to the man. He turned to Cinderella. "I think this may be the last dance. Will you share it with me?" Cinderella hesitated, noting again how icy his gaze was. "I can assure you," Lord Drake went on, his mouth twisted into a thin smile, "that I am every bit as accomplished a dancer as the Prince of Arabesque."
That's alright. Is that Dad? Right, now we've got to find.
Cinderella gasped. Was that who she had been dancing with this whole time? The prince bowed and stepped back. Still shocked, Cinderella found herself being led on to the dance floor by Lord Drake. Beside them, Lady Drake took the prince's hand and led him out to the dance floor too. Lord Drake was indeed a good dancer, but Cinderella felt uneasy with him. Not only were his eyes cold, but his hands were like ice. As they danced, his attention seemed to be fixed on Cinderella's pale, slender neck. She hoped that the dance would soon be over, and she could perhaps return to the prince.
There's only
No, I picked that up yesterday.
Vampires. I reckon Lord Drake and Lady Drake are vampires.
Oh, okay.
Mummy.
Well, Lord Drake's eyeing Cinderella's neck, and he never comes out in the daytime. Makes sense.
Mummy, I know what I could do with this. We've got one of those hook things. And we could hook it up with
Cinderella
this
was
and put it.
also aware that time was moving on. It must be almost midnight.
Dad knows what the hook is.
Sure enough, at that moment she heard the castle clock begin to chime, sound almost lost in the music, making it difficult to count the hours. But Cinderella knew it had to be midnight. She could feel the metal wand the strange man had given her tucked into a pocket inside one of her sleeves, but she couldn't reach it while the Lord Drake held her hand in the dance.
Thank you.
The clock continued to chime. Lord Drake's grip on Cinderella's hand grew even tighter and colder. Over his shoulder, Cinderella could see the prince dancing with Lady Drake. As she watched, it seemed Lady Drake's eyes became deeper and blacker. Then, when Lady Drake saw Cinderella watching her, she smiled. Her lips curled back to reveal long, sharp teeth behind.
Yeah, definitely vampire.
Yep, definitely vampires. I called it. I knew it. Okay. Suddenly, the music stopped. Somebody screamed. Across the room, Cinderella could see people sitting on the raised platform, pulling off their masks. They were all smiling. They all had long, sharp teeth protruding over their lower lips. Lord Drake's grip on Cinderella's hand tightened still further, and he lowered his head towards her neck with a hiss of anticipation. She saw Lady Drake mirror his actions, her teeth descending down on the prince's neck. With sudden panic fury, Cinderella tore herself free from Lord Drake. The clock struck the final chime of midnight. She pulled the metal wand from her sleeve and fumbled for the button the man had showed her. She pressed it and the tip lit up. Lord Drake was advancing angrily towards Cinderella, but when he saw the glowing wand he hesitated. His eyes widened in surprise and he stopped. Across the room, Lady Drake and the other nobles also froze.
Yeah, they're old and brittle.
Yeah, and I know we've replaced a
She
few, so they're obviously
slowly, Lady Drake put her hand to her face. The smooth, unblemished skin of her cheeks was withering in front of Cinderella's eyes. The prince, who had almost managed to break free of his dancing partner, backed away in horror as her cheeks hollowed and the skin across her face tightened like old parchment.
So that was.
That's fine, I guess that.
Lord Drake reached out towards Cinderella, stumbling forward, trying to grab the wand, but
These are a bit different.
she held it high above her head.
Yeah.
Lord Drake
So,
crumbled to his knees. He stared at Cinderella for a moment, his hair white, his face a little more than a skull. Then he pitched forwards. He clung his hand
Put that in the bin.
in disintegrated pile.
Then,
His clutching hand disintegrated into a pile of grey dust. Behind him, Lady Drake and the other nobles sank to their knees and dissolved into dust. For a moment there was silence, and Cinderella turned off the wand and slipped it back into the secret pocket in her sleeve.
yeah, it is.
The guests
Now,
screamed and ran
grab
from the
those
ballroom,
two coat hangers.
and amongst them she spotted her stepmother and stepsisters pushing their way towards the exit. Cinderella hurried in the opposite direction towards the passageway that would take her to the other side and the man with his magic blue box.
Multiplication boards.
They're in there.
She had no idea what had happened,
They don't stay up there. I know.
only that she had
Now,
to get away.
Now, your pillowcase for you. Good. Oh, we need to get that. We need to get a replacement pillow.
Yes, we do.
In the back of her mind, she was worried that she must get home before her stepmother and stepsister did. She ran down a short flight of steps and in her haste twisted her foot. One of her shoes fell off, but she wasted no time stopping to pick it up. She simply took off the other shoe and ran in bare feet. It was her imagination. Was it her imagination, or could she hear someone running after her? Finally, she emerged into the cold night air. She stood gasping for breath beside the blue box. The door opened and the man came out. He was grinning. "You did it then. Well done." She was so out of breath that she could barely speak. "What did I do?" she managed to ask at last. "Oh, just a simple sonic resonance." He took back the wand and slipped it into his jacket pocket. At just the right moment, as the vampires were changing, it can interfere with their minuscule transformation, and well, you saw the effect. Who's your friend? It took Cinderella a moment to work out what he meant. She turned to see the prince was coming out of the side door. He walked slowly over to Cinderella and handed her shoe that she had lost. "I don't know what you did," he said, "but I think you saved all of our lives." "She certainly did," the strange man said, "especially yours. Lord Drake was going to turn you into a vampire so he could send you back to turn all the nobles of Arabesque into vampires too. This whole party was for your benefit." I came looking for peace," the prince said quietly. "I'm sorry you didn't find what you were looking for," Cinderella told her. The prince took her hands in his. "It's all right, I found something much better." She frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" "I think," the strange man beside her said, "he's asking if you want to be a princess. So I'll leave you to it then." Can you stop being weird?
Oh, that's what she's gonna go to give him. Yes.
Uh-huh. Cinderella did not hear the door to the blue box close. She didn't notice the breeze that ruffled her hair or the grating, rasping sound as the box slowly faded away.
It sounds
That-
like a siren.
I know, like that's what the TARDIS sounds like, or at least the best I can do. All her attention was focused on the prince whose life she had saved. It appeared that Cinderella's luck had finally changed for good. The end. The next chapter is chapter number 4, The Twins in the Wood.
This is what it's like. Yeah, I became a princess. Yes, I'm supposed to be alive. My dreams come true.
Can you do that again, this time for the camera?
This is what it's like. Oh, yes, I'll be alive. Oh, yes, my dreams come true. That's literally...
Now you know what I have to deal with on a daily basis.
That's literally what Disney movies are like. What's up?
Oh, it's just the Disney movies without any princesses are the best, though.
Yeah.
Like, Hercules was a pretty good movie.
This one.
I liked Hercules.
The Secret Society of Second Wonders is a good movie, even though they're...
Encanto.
Yeah.
Encanto's my favorite.
Even though...
After Rapunzel. Rapunzel is my top movie.
So the Secret Society of Second Royals, even though it's
Like a princess movie. It's like sort of like a James Bond movie as well.
yeah,
And there's both a Marvel and DC reference in it. Like almost right after each other.
yeah, like we have,
So your mum is the head of the Avengers and I've got the Batcave in my basement.
we have a Batcave under our house. Okay, and I found out you're the head of the Avengers.
Like it's amazing. Absolute gold.
It's not. She's not actually the head of the Avengers.
No. Just a slight
Funny.
hilarious alteration. Do.
Even though it is royals,
It's way better.
yeah. Even though they have like princesses, it is so cool. You guys need to check it out. The Secret
Society of Second Born Royals.
Amazing movie.
Yes, it is. I'm just being weird now. I've been attacked.
Show them my tiny one.
The room is finally tidy. Don't mind my disgusting bed here.
Walk them through.
Go back where you belong. There we go.
Walk them through the movie.
What do you think I'm doing? Normally this is part of stuff.
Yeah, I gotta sort that out. That's my bed stuff.
This is still a disgusting mess.
What's still a disgusting mess?
That.
Yes, I know.
Just making sure. Mirror.
I'm not done yet. You can't come in.
Now let's just do a final test under the bed. Pardon? What? Huh? I've had 3 snacks. I'll be having a proper lunch soonish.
Yeah, well, guess what? She can't come in.
Wow. That is a new sight
What is a new site?
under your bed. Something ticked off my bucket list.
Wait.
Holy. It's not gonna kill me when I open the door.
Here, that's a bit messy.
That's still going to kill me when I open the door.
Yeah, but look in here. And then look at your side. Your side is clean.
I don't know. He's blurting out random stuff. Move your
They love
foot off.
each other. That's what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
He's a
Okay.
weird. Well,
Yes, he is.
what is a weird?
Brothers are always weird. What's your point?
Heidi came out. Oh, I can see now.
It's really dark.
Yeah, mate.
The world is really dark.
No, it's not. You just closed the curtain.
No, I didn't.
I don't.
Blind.
Huh?
Blind. There you go.
He's being weird. That's all I can tell you.
No less than me, though. Okay, bye.